guys, welcome back to my channel. Simone here. Today is my bonus video that I told you on Monday in my October wrap up was coming, so I'll link that video down below so you can go and check it out. But a couple of weeks ago I did my Borrowathon TBR and I said I was going to do the Borrowathon, which ran from the 4th to the 11th of November. And I did do the Borrowathon. I originally had 6 books on my list to read and I read 3 of them and nearly finished a 4th. So I wanted to talk about the ones I did read and let you know what I thought of them. I did mention in that video that because it's non-fiction November, I'll link that TBR down below as well, I had decided that my Borrowathon TBR was going to be completely non-fiction because that's just what I fancied and I wanted to continue on with the non-fiction trend. So the first book I read was for the challenge, a book that you think you're going to really like. And the book that I chose for that was The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. Now I read this when I was really little and I didn't really remember much about it at all, so I wanted to reread it because I feel like it's kind of like one of those things that everybody's read and it's kind of important to read. If you don't know anything about this, Anne Frank wrote a diary during the Second World War when her and her family were essentially hidden in an annex in an office building where her father worked. Because they were Jewish, the Nazis wanted to like round them up and send them off to like concentration camps and things, and so obviously they hid along with, so it was her sister and her mum and dad, and then another family of 3 and then another single man, and it was a really interesting read. Now I don't know if this fully lived up to the whole like a book that you think you're going to like. Now I did think I was going to like it. I didn't like it as much as I thought because it was not what I was expecting. I gave this one a 3-star in the end just because this is probably going to be a bit controversial and I don't want it to come across in that way. But for quite a big section of this, Anne is particularly unlikable. And obviously being trapped in small quarters, and she was only, what, 15 years old, it's not really surprising. Like, she's going through that time of her life when people change and things, and I did appreciate that. But there were some bits in this where I was like, ooh, like I didn't expect it and I didn't see it coming basically. I liked the book and I found it really interesting, but I will say one thing, and I don't want this to come across as like, I wish it was more action-packed, like I wish there was more stuff in it, but I will say that obviously, because they're trapped in an annex, a lot of it's not about the war, it's a lot about family dynamics and a lot about the fights that she has and the reasons why she hates her mum and why she hates her sister and all things like that. And I found that after a while did grate on me a little bit, which I feel bad saying because, you know, I mean, if you don't know, Anne Frank died in 1944, or was it 1945? I can't remember. But I wish I liked it more. And it was a very sad and difficult book to read, and I did feel for her, and I thought it was an interesting read. I don't think I would reread it again now. Let me know what you think. If you've read this, let me know, because I'm interested in what people think about it, because I don't want to come across as like, I wish she'd suffered more. I do not wish she suffered more at all. I just think the way it was written, obviously it's a diary from a girl who wasn't writing it to be a story, so I guess that's one of the things. But yeah, I did enjoy this. I didn't love it as much as I thought I was going to though. And the second book I read was for the challenge of a book that you've never heard of before, and I had picked this one, which is A Stolen Life, a memoir by J.C. Dugard, and I really enjoyed this book. I think I gave it a 4-star in the end. In the summer of 1991, J.C. Dugard was kidnapped outside of her home by Philip and Nancy Garrido, who, Philip is a paedophile and had been arrested previously for assault and things like that. He took her and kept her in his back garden in a room, essentially, where he raped her continuously. She ended up having 2 of his children and she was there for 18 years. And this was J.C. Dugard's writing her story because, in her words, I don't think of myself as a victim, I survived. And she wanted to talk from her own perspective about the things that happened, but on top of that she wanted to make a new life for herself once she came out with her 2 children, her 2 daughters, and I really enjoyed this. Again, it wasn't completely what I was expecting. I expected, and maybe that's my own fault because, you know, it doesn't make sense really what I thought, but in my eyes, because I think I've watched so much true crime stuff, that I thought that this was going to be about obviously what happened to her, which is horrendous, and then I thought it was going to be about what happened to Philip after and how she felt about that. However, when Philip was captured and when JC was freed, there's not very much talk about Philip after that, which, to be honest with you, I can totally understand, because basically he stole her life and she doesn't want anything to do with him anymore. So I did enjoy this. I think she's a very strong woman, and I think I completely feel for her, but I also think she's so strong, and I feel like she's going to come out of this completely, like, stronger, not because of him, but because, you know, despite him. I think her 2 children and her are going to have an amazing life, and I really hope they do, because from what she was, the way she spoke, again, she's a very strong woman. It was really nice to hear her thoughts and her feelings, not just during the time when it happened, because obviously it's horrible to read about some of the things that he did to her. After, when she got fat, like her talking about her mum and how much she missed her mum and how, like, she wanted to see her, and I don't know, it's hard for me to explain. It's very difficult for me to talk about non-fiction in terms of giving it ratings, because this is somebody's life, in the same way that Anne Frank's was. But I have to talk about it in terms of what I got from it when I read it, and what I got from it was strength and, like, continuing on no matter what, and I think that she really showed that, and I'm so glad that I read this. I'm really, really glad I did, because I think that JC Dugard is an amazing, incredible woman. Then the third book I read was the one I was cheating a little bit, I said, because I was originally supposed to read for the book that's under 150 pages, Night by Eli Wiesel. I can't remember how you say, I'm sorry, but it didn't come into my library in time. It still hasn't come in yet, so I'm waiting for that. So hopefully you'll get that at some point this month, but as of yet I haven't got it. So I said I was going to read a book that was free on my Kindle, because I felt like I'd kind of borrowed it from the Kindle, even though that's not really true. But anyway, I read it, and then I really regretted it, because I really didn't like this book. I read Miranda and Me by Peggy Hart, which is basically, Miranda Hart is a British comedian, if you don't already know, and she is very funny. I love her. I've got one of her actual autobiographies here, which I really want to read at some point. But basically, she has a book that came out called Peggy and Me, which was about her and her dog, Peggy. So before that book came out, I think it was like a couple of months before, they released this, like, Kindle book that was basically, it was called Miranda and Me, and it was meant to have been by the dog. And it was basically the smallest little section of writing about Peggy and how, like, from her perspective, like, I love to go for walks and blah blah blah. Like, it was really, like, childishly written. I didn't like that. And then it was basically just people had sent in tweets of their dogs, and it was like pictures of their dogs, like tweets, and I didn't see the point of this, I'm not gonna lie. It said on my Kindle that it was 55 pages long. There is 100% no chance it was 55 pages long, and if it was, there was like 45 pages of just pictures. So I really did not enjoy this. I don't understand why it was published. Like, maybe it was just for fun, but I don't know, I didn't get it. I potentially would read Peggy and Me, because I do like Miranda Hart and I think her writing's funny, but I don't know, I don't think this was worth my time at all. That was the only other book that I read for Borrowathon. I have started Educated by Tara Westover, and as you can see, I have literally about 30 pages to go, and it really annoyed me that I couldn't quite finish it, but I was so tired last night, I'm filming this on Monday, that I just couldn't continue and finish it off. But to be fair, I did pick some quite big books for my Borrowathon, and normally I don't pick massive books, and to be honest, I don't think I've ever done a readathon that was a week long. I've done, like, I'm doing non-fiction November, but other than that, I don't do readathons. So to be honest, I'm quite proud of myself that I managed to get 3 books read and nearly a 4th. But yeah, you'll see Educated by Tara Westover in my November wrap-up, hopefully, because like I said, I nearly finished it. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I shall see you at Friday at 5 PM for my normal scheduled video. Bye guys!